the City of Missoula, Charter Communications, or any of its employees or subsidiaries. Today, on this edition of Missoula Current, we have a special guest with us. She is the member of the steering committee and she organizes events and the outreach program for the organization Transition Town Missoula. And her name is Anne Little. Anne, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
That is wonderful. Good. So you're representing Transition Town Missoula.
Yes.
I'm going to start off with a really simple question. What is Transition Town Missoula? What is Transition Town?
Transition is an international movement. It started in England, and it is a vibrant grassroots movement that seeks to build community resilience in the face of the challenges of peak oil, climate change, and economic crisis. And it represents the most promising way of engaging people and strengthening communities, creating resiliency against these challenges. And ultimately, the purpose of Transition Town in Missoula is to create a power-down plan to have Missoula be resilient and thriving with less energy use.
Okay. So why are you involved, Anne?
I'm involved in a lot of community activities, but I was raised in community. I was raised in Seattle in a large neighborhood with lots of kids. I'm familiar with that. The doors were never locked. People just trusted each other. We shared resources, love, food, whatever. And I think that's really important because a lot of people did very well from that community.
So what's happening with Transition Town Missoula right now?
Well, we have several programs that we work with. We try and help other organizations that are similar to Transition, but we organize programs and outreach. We tabled at Sunday Streets. We have a series of movies that we show that relate to transition. Things like peak oil, changes in focus and habitat, living arrangements. We've had movies on Cuba, various things like that. We have a movie coming up on September 30th called Hungry for Change, which is going to be at the library, and it'll be at 6 o'clock. We also have an open forum that happens the first Thursday of each month at the flat. It's more of an open discussion. We also have a heart and soul group. For many people, the concept of transition is very foreign, it's very scary, and this is an opportunity for people to share their stories and their fears and get some support for that as well. And we have spin-off groups from Transition. One is the Time Bank, which is very exciting. Another one is the Five Valley Seed Library, which is just started this year. So there's lots going on.
Great, great. Can you tell us a little bit about permaculture?
Permaculture is one of the bases of Transition. A fellow named Rob Hopkins from Totnes, England, his background was in permaculture, and the definition of permaculture is, and I'm going to have to read this because I'm not a permaculturist, so I don't know that, is a branch of ecological design, ecological engineering, and environmental design that develops sustainable architecture and self-maintained agricultural systems modeled from natural ecosystems. And we have a lot of things in Missoula that deal with that. One is a Biomimicry Institute. We're blessed to have a lot of really great organizations and institutes here that have sort of the same focus or the same direction as Transition. So.
Wonderful. Um, Now, a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy around climate change and peak oil. And because this is a community news dialogue program, we're going to open up the lines for any callers. The phone number you can call is 721-6014. Now, if you have any questions or any perhaps objections to the idea of climate change, or any of these ideas that we're talking about today, feel free to call, but be respectful. And because, again, we are a community access news dialogue program, we want to invite the community in to talk about this. So as you can see on the lower thirds, the number to call in now, anytime during the program, we're gonna show some videos, we're gonna show some PSAs, but you can call us at 721-6014. And again, if you have any questions, or if you would just like to add your thoughts, and please be respectful. Thank you. So continuing our conversation, you brought some literature with you. Can you explain some of this?
Sure. The original book written by Rob Hopkins is the Transition Handbook. And for people who are interested in working with the steering committee, we are required to read this book and have pretty good understanding of what it involves. It's so we don't have to go over everything every time we have a meeting, so people know what they're getting into. And we also have reading groups that get together to talk about this book. And the library has been generous enough to put together a kit, a reading group kit with 10 books, and you can check those books out and put together your own reading group or have them help you with that as well. The Transition Companion is more about how other cities and towns have created transition town movements in their town and city. And so this is a list of examples and stories, and every group is different. Nobody does it the same way because all towns are different and have different challenges. And this is a book by Joanna Macy called Active Hope, and she helps people get through the scary bits of what transition means. And the subtitle is How We Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy. So there's activities, exercises, general information in this book. For a lot of people, this is a really new concept. And I know for some people it's very startling and very scary. So that's a helpful book too. And all of these are available at local bookstores. So,
great.
Yeah.
So what do you say to people who tell you climate change is not a man-made phenomenon? There's nothing to worry about. We should keep things just as they are, and we should just worry about the economy as it is.
Well, the economy certainly has a lot of challenges, but I think people more and more are looking at weather changes, such as we've seen in Boulder. And more and more drastic, large weather systems are occurring like that. It's caused by climate change. And it doesn't really make any difference if it's man-made or not. We still have to deal with it. Transition happens to believe that it is man-made, mostly from the pollutants that are being pumped into the air daily. And it's sort of a double whammy, because not only are we running out of oil, but the oil that we're using now is creating this drastic climate that we're looking at and having to deal with, and it looks like it's going to get worse. From Transition's point of view, keeping the oil in the ground is the best solution. We can't afford to pump more crud into the air. So we've got years of problems that we're going to have to deal with if we just stopped using oil today. So.
No. So I assume that because Transition wants to keep the oil in the ground, that a lot of what you talk about is solutions to the way we live, because right now we use a lot of energy that requires a lot of oil and gas.
Yep.
So I don't know, could you give us a few examples, some of the big examples of what Transition Town or Transition?
Well, we work with a lot of different organizations that are already in existence in this area. For example, AERO, AERO, alternative energy sources, wind power, solar power, hydropower, things that are less impactful, that are cleaner. That's just one of the aspects. Another, I mean, we are dealing with education, we're dealing with transportation, we're dealing with food, we're dealing with local economies. There are hundreds of Transition Town initiatives around the globe. We are number 124 in the United States. And some deal with other aspects, whatever is pertinent to their town. One of the ones that's important to me is the fact that Missoula doesn't own its own water system. And I would very much like to see the city buy our water system back. So that's something that we're considering. Mostly right now we're trying to get the information out there. You were talking about whether the global warming is man-made or not, and I remember somebody asking Dr. Steve Running about that, and they said, isn't it true that the entire solar system is warming up? And his answer was, I can only deal with one planet at a time. So, you know, this is what we've got. We've got this little blue marble, and this is all we have. And my hope is that I can brag to my nephews and nieces and friends that we did this wonderful job of creating a healthy, fulfilling environment with less energy instead of begging for forgiveness for the mess that we made.
Sure. Now, a big hot topic right now is the Keystone XL pipeline. And that involves extracting oil from the Alberta tar sands.
Yes.
Which is a very inefficient way to extract oil.
Yes.
And because it's so inefficient, it's producing a lot of carbon dioxide, CO2.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? There's the big Montana Economy Summit where they had ambassadors from Canada speaking about how the Keystone XL pipeline is a good endeavor for the U.S. economy, and it's getting oil from, you know, Canada instead of the Mideast. And then we also have just recently, as of today, we had Steve Daines go to Washington, and he's heading a committee, something about 5 years of bureaucratic tape, and he's saying President Obama has been not acting on this Keystone XL pipeline. We've been waiting 5 years. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the pipeline? What are your thoughts? Go ahead. Go for it.
Well, I am sorry to hear that Mr. Daines is backing the Keystone pipeline. It provides very few jobs, and the oil doesn't go to the United States. It goes to Texas to be shipped overseas. And it's a very short-term solution. The carbon dioxide is a problem. What it's doing to the environment up in Canada is deplorable. It's a huge toxic waste dump. The native people are losing their lands. You know, here, closer to home, we're dealing with running megaloads through Missoula. And fortunately, the Forest Service shut down Highway 12, for 100 miles yesterday, and we are not sure how long that's going to last. They say until they have their study done. I don't know when that study is going to be done, but in many ways, those tar sands are affecting all sorts of small communities. You know, the Idle No More people are working with the Nez Perce, and the Clearwater folks in Idaho are working to stop those megaloads. So that's just a small piece right here that's destroying our environment. So it's not just the tar sands, it's got repercussions all over the United States. And one of the things, you know, are the spills. And none of that goes reported. I mean, there's huge spills happening every day, and it doesn't hit the news. People are unaware of it. I mean, for example, now this has nothing to do with oil. There was a huge molasses spill in Hawaii Harbor last week. 14,000 tons of dead fish. Wasn't in the news. So those kind of things are being buried, and I think if people knew what we're risking and the degradation that's happening, they would be really angry about it and not supportive. Now, yes, as it stands now, we need oil. And all I have to say to people is stop driving. You know, they're producing that oil because there's a demand for it. If we reduce that demand, we will reduce the amount of oil that they have to pump.
Okay. Just to go back on that question about the Keystone XL pipeline. At the economic summit, and you're not an economist, but they really are saying that this pipeline is going to be hugely beneficial for the Montana economy. I'd love to hear from the public if anybody has any insight into how the Keystone XL pipeline is going to be hugely beneficial to Montana's economy. If you have any insight, if you have any facts, please call in. Do you think it's going to be beneficial, or do you not have the,
I went to the last economic summit in Butte, and Mr. Bacchus did a very nice job of getting some big name people to speak to the group. And the main message that I heard from that summit was we have to grow. We have to grow the economy. We have to increase our output. I mean, they've been saying that for years, and it hasn't worked. And what Transition is saying is, let's not grow. Let's see how we can create an economy and a culture and an environment where that growth factor is not there, where we can get smaller, where we're using less fuel, we're using less resources, we're leaving something for our kids.
Great. So that's a perfect segue into the video that we want to show. It's off the Transition Missoula website. It's let's see here. It's on the website if you guys want to put up the website. So it's I believe it's one of these videos, but at any rate, here's the website for Transition Missoula, and we're going to play an 8-minute video that talks about Transition's ideas for the economy. So go ahead and play that. Hi, welcome back to this edition of Missoula Current. Again, I want to stress the fact that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the views and opinions that MCAT has, or the City of Missoula, or Charter Communications, or any of its employees or subsidiaries. Again, we're talking about Missoula Transition. It's an organization that is trying to find ways to deal with the oncoming world, what should we say?
Well, the challenges of peak oil, global warming, and economic crisis.
The challenge, exactly. So we were just having, obviously we were having audio issues there. We're going to try to get the audio issues figured out so we can actually play that video. But we have a new segment of the show that I'd like to introduce, and it's called What's Trending, and it's a Twitter, and we're looking at Twitter. So basically, we're going to look at local Twitter accounts, Missoula Twitter accounts, and we're going to see what people are saying about the environment, what people are saying about Keystone XL. Oh, I've got a caller. Oh, great. All right, let me get this. Hold on. Hello, welcome to Missoula Current. Hello. Can you hear me? Whoever just called, you might want to try calling back. At any rate, so we're gonna put in a new we're gonna talk about a new segment in the show, which is What's Trending on Twitter. And again, we're going to look at local Missoula accounts and see what's trending. A caller just tried to call in. We'll see if they can call back again. All right, so let's go to the website. Let's go to Twitter. All right, so we're on Twitter now. So when you go to Twitter, you can type in something, and it should bring up some things that are trending here. And so what we have on Fuels America, it says 73% of Americans support the renewable fuel standard. The numbers don't lie. There's a picture. Now, I don't know what this is, but so they say oil is the problem, renewable fuel is the solution. 73% of Americans support the renewable fuel standard. 3 out of 4 people think we should have more renewable fuel options at gas stations. Okay, so Anne, what do you think about that?
Well, my first thought is, where did they get their numbers?
Yeah.
My second thought is, if those numbers are good, I'm encouraged by that. One of the things with transition is we see this oil as a shot in the arm to our society and giving us an opportunity to do great things. But we're not going to have it forever. So while we have it, we should use it wisely and not use it for fueling cars. So alternative energy for many things would be great.
All right. Let's go back and check out what other people are saying on Twitter. Let's say Missoula megaloads, since we were just talking about that. Oh, let's see. Nobody. Oh, wait, hold on a second.
It's a spelling thing.
Yeah. See if there is anything. There might not be with this, but all right, let's try this now. Missoula megaloads. Let's see if there's anything. Predator defense. Looking back first at 9 Omega Morgan megaloads. Continues slow crawl through Idaho.
That's old.
And then here's Red Power United. Megaloads pass through Missoula despite protests. Let's look at this one since it's about Missoula. All right. Megaloads passes through Missoula despite... Hold on one sec. Despite protests, Montana It's heading your way. Shut him down. Solidary FB. And then there's this also one. Looking back, first of 9 Omega Morgan megaloads continues slow crawl through Idaho. We've got some other ones. Rising tide.
Mm-hmm.
Resistance to megaloads in Montana going on. Attention, wild Idaho, rising tide rising. Salish Paul, this Twitter account says Salish Kootenai and Blackfeet activists prepare as Morgan megaloads move through Montana, and there's an article on the Missoulian about that. Mm-hmm. Let's go back up to this and see what this link takes us to. If it ever goes. Oh, so we're at the Independent. So they're saying it. Let's see. So they're saying megaload bound for Alberta. So this is out of the Missoula Independent. A megaload bound for the Alberta tar sands grounds to a halt at the Nez Perce Reservation border along U.S. Highway 12 in Idaho early Tuesday morning. Stopped by a blockade of Nez Perce tribal members, the protest stalled shipper Omega Morgan for nearly 2 hours before tribal police took 19 individuals into custody, including 8 of the 9 members of the Nez Perce Tribal Executive Committee. Wow. So, Ann, do you have any insight on this? What's going on here?
I went down to protest that actually on the Sunday that it came through, and it actually, I think, ended up coming in on a Monday. Yeah, I'm opposed to those megaload shipments. Not only are they going to the tar sands, but they're violating the laws of the states they pass through. They're violating the sovereignty of the Nez Perce Nation. And they're deteriorating our highways and Idaho highways, and they're not compensating the states for that. One of the reasons they say they want to run the megaloads through is because it creates jobs, which, you know, very few jobs. And they are not supposed to be on the road for a certain period of time. They have violated those laws, and they seem to be able to move with impunity until yesterday when the Forest Service closed down the highway. That's a wild and scenic corridor, wild and scenic river corridor. They should not be there.
Is there any way that these megaloads are beneficial to Montana's, Idaho's economy? Are they doing any benefit to the economy? What would be a reason? What would be a pro for these megaloads coming through?
They're hiring drivers. They're hiring escort services to get them through properly. They provide Lewistown shipping, the port of Lewistown, or Lewiston, jobs at that point. But the equipment is coming from overseas, so it's not being built in the United States or Canada. And like I said, it's deteriorating our highways without compensating the states for that damage. The other problem is, if they go into the river, if they run off the roads, there is no way to get them out of the river. And there have been cases where in the middle of the winter, there are just slides that have put semi-trucks into that river. The response from the megaload companies, Omega Morgan, is that they have the ability to get them out of there. But they can't get the equipment in to get them out of there. It exists, but they can't get it in place. So that, tourism and the environment are great sources of income and much better for Idaho and Montana, and provide many more jobs than the megaloads ever will.
Now, do you know any, in terms of numbers, what tourism does, or what tourism brings in for the state of Montana?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, I should know that.
Maybe we can look it up.
Yeah, it's like second to agriculture, maybe tops.
Let's see.
And it's increasing.
Senator Max Baucus introduces Montana Tourism Panel.
There you go,
It's a
$3 billion a year.
$3 billion per year industry in Montana. So think about that in terms of the economy, in terms of how all of this construction, these megaloads passing through, potentially destroying scenic highways, falling into rivers.
Well, then we have Otter Creek, which they're trying to bring online for more coal. We already have coal cars running through Missoula all day, every day. That coal is all going to China. It just increases.
Oh, looks like we have a caller. Let's see here. Sorry to interrupt, but
It's okay.
hello.
Hi, this is Mason Brigenheim. I have a question for you.
Sure, go ahead, Nathan.
So I was wondering with the economic summit in view and how a lot of industries are trying to expand their businesses, and do you think, in your opinion, that would they bring non-green jobs, or would they bring more industrial non-green jobs, or do you think, or hoping for greener jobs in Montana?
I would love to see green jobs in Montana. A lot of the push at the summit was for high tech and new industry, electronics, bio, various things like that. I wasn't at the summit, so I don't know exactly what they were talking about, but I know that we are trying to encourage that type of industry here, as opposed to extraction industries, because the tourism is such an important part.
Oh,
Lost him.
looks like we lost him, but go ahead. Go ahead on that thought. So you're saying you'd love to see more green jobs.
Yeah, I mean, the definition of a green job, I'm not sure exactly what that is. But if, from Transition's point of view, if that's alternative energy, local economies, healthier environment, that's what we would be interested in.
Great. Let's see, what else do we have? Let's go back to Twitter and see if maybe we can find something else that's trending. Do you know if Missoula Transition has a...
Not a Twitter account, no.
Not a Twitter.
No.
Let's see here.
Facebook and website.
Montana Green Jobs. Let's see what this brings up. Veterans Green Jobs. VGJ is proud to announce our own BD chair.
Well, it's interesting. One of the movies that Transition is going to be showing is called Ground Operations. That's coming up November 11th. It's going to be at in the UC on the 3rd floor, and it's about getting veterans into farming.
Right. Yeah. Could you tell us a little more about this? We watched a little bit of this documentary, but we had trouble getting it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it shows examples of veterans coming back from their assignments and going into farming and being successful at it. And I think Montana has a lot to offer veterans, and that we can work on that and help connect veterans with farming operations. I personally know a lot of young farmers in Montana, and specifically in the Five Valleys area. And we need all the farmers we can get in Montana. The average age of a farmer here is 65 years old. And we need those young farmers starting up and working with those older farmers and learning the ropes and keeping us fed. So that's one of the reasons we're showing this movie, is to encourage people, specifically vets, to look at Montana as a place to come and work on farms if that's something that they're interested in.
And farming is basically essential to Transition.
Feeding the populace is important to everybody,
Without, I mean, we're talking about sustainable farming. We're not shipping it from all over the world.
Right.
Which is something that we could potentially be faced with in the near future, is the fact that we might, if it comes to peak oil, if it becomes too expensive to ship coconuts and pineapples to Missoula, Montana, we might need to find ways to farm our own fruits and similar thing, you know.
Yes.
So,
well, they did an open space study, and I'm not sure exactly what arm of the government here did this, of being able to feed the Missoula population. And they said, yes, there is enough land and the climate is good enough to feed the Missoula population with the land around Missoula. However, people don't want to eat what we would want to grow. They want to have Doritos and Coca-Cola. And if the shipping costs for those products get out of line, it's going to be very expensive to buy those products. So a transition, of course, would support local farming, local economies, supporting our local growers, working even with Pease Farm and Garden City Harvest, and making sure that there's food for the populace here. So we aren't importing exotic oils from India and apples from New Zealand. I mean, that seems crazy to me because the Bitterroot used to be a great apple growing area, and it's coming back a little bit, but we have the availability of land and expertise to grow the food that we need here.
What are your thoughts on the whole debate going on over Monsanto and genetically modified?
Well, I work with Five Valleys Seed Library, and it's a little group of people who have put together a cabinet of seeds that now exists at the food co-op and will soon be moving into the public library. And what we are hoping eventually to have is a bank of seeds that do well in the Missoula Five Valleys area, that are open pollinated and are free. And the idea is that people check seeds out of the library at the beginning of the season, and at the end of the year, the end of the growing season, they bring seeds back. And we keep the project going that way. Monsanto is opposed to that concept. In the last 10 years, Monsanto has managed to patent 90% of the seeds that the world grows. Or it might be, I'm sorry, not the world, it's the US, but their goal is to patent every seed in the world. There is evidence that GMO crops are damaging to humans. They're finding more and more information about how those genetically modified organisms damage the human body. I am not a fan of Monsanto, Syngenta, DuPont. Now, there are plenty of farmers who say we would not be able to farm if we didn't have those seeds. I don't know how true that is. The way that the soil depletion caused by the use of pesticides that are necessary to grow Monsanto products is terrifying. They may not be able to grow it on their ground because they've depleted their soil so badly by using Monsanto products. So I am hoping that we can do better than that.
Can transition away from that. And,
yeah.
And it's happening in other countries. Right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. GMOs are not allowed in a lot of countries. So
what does that say about our country when
Well, my opinion, not MCAT's, is that if they want to punish people who poison their populations with chemicals, they should start with Monsanto. So.
Right. Okay. So, great. I'm just gonna talk to the control room. How are you guys doing with the audio on that video? Is it working? Okay, yeah, we're having audio issues today, unfortunately. Perhaps we'll be able to show some of those short documentaries on MCAT at some point. Maybe we can talk to Transition Missoula. We'll just show the Facebook page here. So this is your Facebook page. If you guys want to go to the Facebook page, is okay. Our director is not back behind the control room. Great. So you do have a Facebook page that anybody can go on. Look, one of my friends is on.
Jason, sure.
So, what is this? Our local. You have this up here.
Ah.
What is this? It's our local friends, Elaine Chef, owner of Meadow Sweet Herbs, has just put out her first Kindle book. It will be free over the weekend of Friday 20th to Sunday 22nd.
That's great.
You can download Kindle. Yeah, so now our director's back. Can you put up there we go. Brilliant. All right. So let's click on this. Bring this up. Okay, so our local friend Elaine Steff, owner of Meadow Sweet Herbs, has just put out her first Kindle book. It will be free over the weekend of Friday 20th to Sunday 22nd. You can download Kindle readers for free to your computer and smartphone, so you don't have to own a Kindle to read Kindle books.
It's great. It's a wonderful business.
Yes.
So they're local.
Okay, tell us about this. Do you know?
I really don't know about the book, and I know a little bit about Meadow Sweet Herbs, which is right down on 3rd. They have a wonderful selection of herbs and salves and homeopathic remedies, all kinds of things. They're a great local resource. And then we have Colorado.
We have Colorado.
You know, I look at that and I go, what is the plan when Missoula floods?
Yeah.
And I don't know that there is one.
Let's see, what else? So yeah, so this flooding in Colorado is a big example of what bad can happen.
If you want to look at XL Pipeline, scroll down a little bit. And the guy there with the shirt?
Right here?
That's very interesting, yeah.
Let's take a look at this.
This is about the XL.
So this is about the Keystone XL pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
How Canadian pranksters are taking on a big fossil fuel company.
Oh, it's a different pipeline, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So what they're trying to do, I don't know if you can run that.
I can, but the volume doesn't
Is non-existent.
work. Yeah. Let's go back. See if there's anything more local to look at here. Naomi Klein. Is that
Klein.
Klein? Is that the writer? Do you know who this is?
I've read some of her stuff, but she's not a local girl.
Okay.
Yeah, so they are putting up various things. I don't control the website, so I'm not sure.
So here's some events coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Transition Missoula Handbook Study Courses.
Yep.
Let's take a look at that. Transition Missoula Handbook Study Course. There are exciting developments for Transition Missoula. We have new interest by folks who came to check us out at our backyard potluck.
Mm-hmm. That was a while ago. Yep. So 7 o'clock. If you scroll down, there you go.
7 o'clock.
Yep, at the library.
Okay. Let's head back to the website, see what else. So this is the website. How can people get involved? So you have your events, film series.
We do have regular films. We do have the open forum each month. We have the reading groups, and if people are interested in working with the steering committee, if they read the Transition Handbook, they're welcome to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these are just some cool films that are on your website that people can check out.
Yes.
Sort of different ideas about transition.
Yeah, the one about Cuba was very interesting. It was they were forced to basically be transition when the Russian oil stopped. And it took them about 3 to 5 years of starvation and real destitution. But currently, they're growing all their own food.
Yeah. Just a little peek at... Oh, this looks like it's running a little slow. Okay. All right. Well, do you have anything else to talk about before you go, Anne?
Let's see. Well, I think one of the important things with transition is to allow people to know that they can make a difference.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that they can make a difference, that they are the ones that need to act, and they can do it now. And we can use all the help we can get. If they have new ideas, fresh ideas on how to use less energy, how to be more efficient, we're open to those ideas. And they can contact us on the website or through the Facebook page. I think we've covered just about everything. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. So do you have any words of advice for people who are trying to get into transition or trying to do things by themselves? Maybe just start up?
Start learning skills. I would say, learn how to bake bread. Learn how to build a chicken coop. Learn how to grow beans. Learn some of those skills that have kind of fallen by the wayside that are survival skills. Those will help us. Know what's going on. Pay attention. Read, listen. Try and keep an open heart and mind. Learn how to work with other people in a group. The concept to me of self-sufficiency is a very bad idea, because we're not going to survive as individuals. We're only going to survive as a community. So I think transition helps offer that community and works with community to create resiliency and a better life than what we have with oil. So I think we've got that opportunity.
Great. Well, thank you for being on the show, Anne.
All right.
I really appreciate you coming on
Sure.
and sharing all of your information with us.
Good. All right.
Well, again, Missoula Current does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Missoula Community Access Television, the City of Missoula, or Charter Communications and its employees or subsidiaries. But what I would like to tell the public is that if you have something that you want to talk about, if you'd like to talk about, you have an issue that you'd like to bring up, you can always call us here at MCAT at 542-6228. You can also find us on Facebook. MCAT has a Facebook page, so does Missoula Current. So if you want to check us out on Facebook, you can find us and you can post on our page an issue that you'd like us to talk about. And I would like to also give a shout out and thank my crew for today's edition of Missoula Current. I'd like to thank my technical director, Scott Ramf, for putting the show on and doing a great job. Also, our cameraman, Mason Bergenheyer. He did a great job. We have our work study guy in Clayton. Sorry, Clayton, I have to apologize. I forget your last name. But we'll give you a proper shout out next time. Also, I want to thank Christian Ackerman for being the tech guru genius that he is. And also, I also want to give a huge shout out to Joel Baer, general manager and piano player for the show today, and everyone else at MCAT for supporting Missoula Current. I really appreciate it. And for MCAT, I'm Josh Meny. Thank you for watching this edition of Missoula Current. We will see you soon.
There's no audio. There's seriously, it's all through the computer, and I don't know what Scott did, but you can check it. I have all the mics on.
Ooh, that's Scott control and director.